My God, I forgot quite how that sounded and looked. It's been a while. It's been a year since we busted out the spooky season branding, which I recall was a thing we did on the 22nd of October this year. So that's where we're at. But nonetheless, the big men are back. Special show ahead here as we take a look at Halloween Havoc history, a special event in the pro wrestling archives. One that some would say we should never revisit, but is being revisited pretty frequently these days. So here we are nonetheless. All-star panel as always. I'll start with the familiar face alongside me, the famed Bobby Two Shoes. Bob, how are you this evening, mate?
I'm doing well, man. Looking forward to this. First of 3 shows this week, so we got to kind of remember how to do 3 shows in a week, but I think we'll do it. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, tell me about it, bro. That's what I said. I looked at that schedule. I said, hold on, I'm on all of these. This is a lot. Back on the road again. But nonetheless, our friend Kris Bordine joins us. And Kris, this is your concept, which we'll get into as we go. But firstly, how are you this evening, mate?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy. I was a little concerned. I went and saw hottest band in the world on Friday night, so I was concerned I might not have a voice here today, but we're good, and I'm ready to do this draft.
I saw that. I assume you had a good time. It seemed like
yes,
right?
Yes, I did. I had a very good time.
Wonderful stuff. I tell you, I know someone who has a good time. A blast from the past here. I think our friend Stephen Jensen has been on the late night Grin twice. I think there was one time for a SummerSlam show with SP3 of some sort. I don't really remember what, but I remember we did something about SummerSlam. Yeah. And then you were on our charity Grinathon also for a little bit. But nonetheless, you're back. Thrilled to have you on. Stephen Jensen, how are you, mate?
I'm great. Good to see you boys. Good to see everyone in the chat. It's good to be here. Good to be back here on this channel, here on Twitch. Is this exclusively on Twitch and like in Twitter, I guess technically X?
Well, I think we're gonna upload it to the YouTube.
Then YouTube a little bit later. Yeah. Everyone here in the live chats from Twitch. Everyone, hello in the Twitch chat.
Yes.
Willie58. Yes, that's factual.
But yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me, guys. And before we get started, hey, real quick, Bob, I don't know if you saw this or not. You see Kurt Angle recently appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience?
I saw a couple clips of it. I didn't sit there and watch it. It's
a long show. But did you see that? Did you see that he talked about his chicken snacks?
I didn't see that part. No.
He did. He talked about it on the show, and I immediately thought of you. I was like, dude, the chicken snacks. If they could only know the endorsement that you gave those snacks. The commercial and endorsement.
He's still selling those things.
Yeah, he is. I think he's doing well with them. I guess apparently, but that was an all-time legendary internet moment for me seeing that review. So I still talk about that to this day, and you just talked about it on Joe Rogan. So congratulations, man.
Hell yeah,
still living up here with me.
I seem to recall that Bob had them in that like container. Do you remember there was like a container he had them in, like there was some sort of medicine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what was that? They were good as gold, right? And then you got cut right out of there.
Yeah.
And, man, that was one of the greatest. That was so funny. I watched that clip so many times. I'm not gonna lie, that was so funny.
Is the isolated clip out there? Is it posted as just that segment, or is the whole?
I'm pretty sure that I saved just like a clip of it. I had to have. Yeah, I had to have. Yeah, that was worthy of me going on my phone and like recording it and like editing the little clip down.
Mm-hmm.
Like just I don't know if I even posted it or not. I just kept it for myself and just watch it, and it's hilarious. It's just so funny to me. That's why I'm happy to be back on this channel, because you guys are funny. Like I like that you guys like don't take stuff seriously, and it's like just wrestling. Yeah. It's wrestling nerds like myself that are just hanging out talking about stupid stuff.
Yeah,
like chicken stacks.
It doesn't get much nerdier than this concept, so that's
great.
Wrestling talk gets a little intense out there, but if there's one thing that is made for dumb professional wrestling talk, including a lot of laughs, it's the history of Halloween Havoc, which is, I would happily list it as like one of my favorite wrestling brands, events, whatever in history, while conceding that like. I don't know if any of these shows are what you would call like great professional wrestling shows in the traditional sense. There's a couple that kind of veer in that way, but it's a very unique event. Bob, I know we've always joked around about you're like a WWE centric fan, so I'm genuinely interested in your answer to this. Like, what do you think of when you think of Halloween Havoc? Is it stuff we've done on here? Where do you go with that?
Yeah, honestly, it is like mostly stuff we've done on here. Like I've seen the big ones like 92, 93, obviously 98. But yeah, I haven't like gone through and watched all of them, and that's true about a lot of WCW, which I'm slowly getting through. Yeah, it's kind of a blind spot for me, so it's gonna be interesting.
It'll be very interesting with your internet connection holding up like that, Bobby. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. This has been a recent draft theme with our friend Bobby. He's struggling, but he tries his best nonetheless. We appreciate you, Bobby. Kris, where does your mind go when you think Halloween Havoc?
Like you, I love the branding. It was when I was playing the 2K games every year and setting up my universe mode, I always made sure my October pay-per-view was the Halloween Havoc set and that. I just think it's a cool concept, and it's funny, you talk about how like none of the shows are top to bottom actually, good. So it's funny when you listen to like Shivani and I think Bischoff both say on their podcast that they viewed Halloween Havoc as their Mania and not Starrcade.
Yeah. I mean, there's the correlation there is that when Bischoff went all in on that mindset, of course, that included pretty much annual Hulk Hogan main events, which included some mixed results. There's one Hulk Hogan Havoc main event that I am very fond of. There are many that I'm less fond of, but it's a very interesting thing to look back. I mean, WCW is a brand and a promotion I have a great affinity for, but use the phrase top to bottom. That was very seldom something they really nailed. I mean, they would get either one or the other or something in the middle, but very seldom top to bottom. But we'll see that, folks, as we go through this draft here. The beauty of this concept is it's a draft. I'm going to have fun and compete, but really, it's a look through the history of the event, which will be a wonderful time, I'm sure. Jensen, where does your mind go with Halloween Havoc, man? I know you're a big WCW guy.
Yeah, so I was excuse me, I was a big WCW kid growing up. Grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. For those of you who don't know, that was WCW country. So like I was not a WWF fan, really. Like I was aware of it until probably like I don't know. Probably around the time Shawn Michaels, like around the time he was like leaving the WWF is when I started like really getting into the WWF. Like Shawn Michaels was one of my favorite guys. Then like he left, but then I became aware that like most of my favorite WCW wrestlers had previously been in the WWF, and like I retroactively found a lot of this stuff out as a kid. That all said, this is like Halloween Havoc to me was like one of, if not my favorite, just like things I looked forward to as a kid, as a wrestling fan growing up. Because I mean, even to the N64 video games, like I think of that. Like I think of like playing Revenge and like choosing the Halloween Havoc, seeing the set. I think about Slim Jims and Snickers. You know what I mean? Like I think about like the all the stuff even just involved with the branding of the shows like that, like y'all were saying with the branding and everything. Like, so I have a lot of fond memories about that. I remember because I couldn't order pay-per-views. Like my parents didn't have like the box where you could even order them. So I remember I'd always like ask people at school and stuff, like if anyone could watch the show. I remember it was always like a big deal. Like who does anyone? And I had this one friend, shout out to Mikey Force. I haven't talked to this guy in like 15 years, probably. Mikey Force's parents they had a black box we discovered, which was that unscrambled the pay-per-view for free. And then we started watching like all the pay-per-views because we found out his parents could get us for him. So I remember, but I remember like the Halloween Havoc was one of those shows being like, I remember one of the first times going to my parents and saying like, we need to find a way that I can watch this was hilariously enough was Roddy Piper versus Hulk Hogan. I was so invested as a kid in the idea of that match that I had my parents calling other parents and being like, hey, do you have pay-per-view? My kid like won't shut up about this. Like, is there any way to watch it at your house? And this kind of, so anyway, that was kind of like my upbringing. I really look forward to this kind of stuff as a kid.
Wonderful. I love it. Trip down memory lane for sure. And as I mentioned before we went live here, as soon as when I was trying to piece this together in terms of our panel, I thought I'm missing the answer's right in front of me. This is World Championship Wrestling, bro. This is Stephen Jensen country. So we're here and we're thrilled to be. Now, folks, we've done a couple of these drafts before. This is Kris' concept, and it's a wonderful concept. And we did 2 of them on his channel, which we recommend. I tweeted one of them earlier, and we'll kind of tweet them after this. We did WrestleMania and Starrcade. So for anyone unaware, Kris, best you can, because I think it's one of those concepts that makes more sense once we start doing it, if that makes. But nonetheless, Clue the people in on what it is we're actually drafting down, how this works.
So we're not, and so I came up with the concept actually thinking about. I think I was listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast about WrestleMania 13 or something like that, and they were talking about the Brett and Austin match, and and then I got to thinking, in sports terms, like that would be like the consensus number one overall pick of WrestleMania matches, and then like, well, okay, let's kind of expand on that, and I came up with this concept. So we're not drafting like individual wrestlers to build our like fantasy cards here. We're drafting actual matches that happened at Halloween Havoc before.
Yes.
So
absolutely. And we have 7 categories, right, which are as follows. We have non-title singles, non-title tag titles match, US title match, world's title match, television title match, and other titles also. So we have to tick each of those boxes. We are limited to 3 stipulation matches.
Yes.
Right. And those stipulations cannot overlap. Now, again, that's something that once it happens, we'll kind of register more, right? Because at first it's just a kind of a gauge of how we're going to build this card. So it's basically a challenge of building the best Halloween Havoc card with what actually was, which, considering the conversation we open with, will be challenging in some ways because, for all of its strengths, Halloween Havoc is not exactly littered with classics after classics. So this is going to be different. So that is our goal here. And as I said, it will make more sense as we go. Now, I think we mentioned before we went live here to our friend Stephen Jensen that, as our ultimate guest here, as Bob reveals that his picture is hilariously mine. StreamYard's very dumb. It's not Bob's fault. We're going to give our friend Jensen a pick between whether he has the first pick, but we're doing this snake concept. So it'd be the 1st and 8th or 4th and 5th. I think it makes sense, Chris, for you to be the opposite end of the draft, right? I think that makes sense. And then Bob and I we can slot in the middle. So Jensen, would you like to go first, or would you like to go last in the first round and then first in the second?
Okay. And how many rounds again? 7?
7,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will take the first pick.
Okay, so it will be Bob. Would you like to go second or third, mate?
I'll go third.
Okay, so it'll be Jensen, myself, Bob, Chris. We'll get a double pick. It'll loop back round over and over in the snake form that I'm sure you're all familiar with. Okay, here we go, folks. Halloween Havoc. Stephen Jensen, the very first pick of this draft. Where are you going, my friend?
Okay, so I feel like this is going to be like super obvious, but this is also why I wanted the first pick because not only probably the best match in Halloween Havoc history, probably the best match maybe in WCW history. We are going to officially go with, I'm just making sure I get the year right. That's literally all I'm making sure of because I can't remember. Yep. All right. 1997. I couldn't remember 97 or 98. We got Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, Halloween Havoc. Check it right off the list. Incredible stuff. I love the cruiserweight division. 2 of the best in-ring wrestlers, in my opinion, ever in this one, wrestling each other. Innovative moves, even down to the ring gear, iconic Rey Mysterio, that purple ring gear, like the doing like the flipping Hurricane Rana to the outside and stuff, like back in 1997 on American TV, just like it was just completely mind blowing. These guys completely ruled. Like maybe one of my favorite matches just ever, and it just happened to be on Halloween Havoc. So yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, if there was a right pick, that kind of has to have been it. I've got I'd switch a lot of stuff out behind me. This one always stays because I'm not sure wrestling will ever look better than this match did in every which way. You mentioned the gear, the entire aesthetic, the way the work looks. It's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah,
absolutely
amazing. It had to be number one.
Beautiful match. I'm intrigued. Was that everyone's number one draft pick? If they had it's that special a match. Okay. All right. So now I'm not really adjusting because I was pretty confident.
Before you go, Joe, just want to clarify a couple of other rules for the audience. So that means now Jensen cannot select any other match featuring Rey Mysterio Jr. or Eddie Guerrero.
Right.
Yeah. Which I think in this case, that was the perfect first pick because I'm not sure there's a ton because the other Rey match would be Dean, right? The other famous Rey match. That's off the board anyway because you've got your cruiserweight title match. So, okay, that makes sense. I think there are 2 matches in the world's title section to circle. Now, there is one that is more popular, but I'm going to go with my heart, and go with the match that I personally am a bigger fan of. Because I think one half of this match needs to be in a big match for you doing a WCW draft. I'm headed to 1994 for the steel cage main event between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, which I will forever profess and protest to be like a genuine hidden gem. Those first two matches with Flair, two pay-per-view matches are very different to almost everything else Hogan does as a babyface in WCW, where it quickly becomes, Dungeon of Doom and all that follows. I think this one really gets lost to the fact that people hate the retirement step. I'm a big, big fan. 1994, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. And in terms of box office, fellas, that was a pretty big deal, right? So Flair and Hogan is going to be my world's title match. That's my pick. Bobby, you're up, mate.
Okay, gonna get my world's title out of the way as well. We'll go 1998 Goldberg versus DDP. Tremendous main event. Might be Goldberg's best match, one of DDP's best matches. Just great stuff all around. We watched it for 12 bouts of Bill Grin Grappler last year. Enjoyed it, loved it. Great stuff.
Yeah, that was the other one I was referencing, right? That's the more popular match, and I don't even argue that it's better. I'm a big fan of the Flair Hogan one, so can't argue with that. That's a good pick. Now, Chris is in an interesting position here because he has the double pick, but Halloween Havoc is such a strange event that some of the heaviest hitters are the heaviest hitters are gone, and frankly, there aren't a ton of super heavy hitters. So this would be an interesting adjustment to make, Chris. Where are you going here, mate?
Well, so I'm looking at the world title now, and because of what else I want to do later in the draft, it's not ideal. Yeah, I definitely don't want to do that. I guess I'm gonna take. Well, I guess because I got two in a row. Okay, I'll do this in reverse order then. For non-title tag team match, I am taking. I just watched this, and it pops me every single time. I am taking from 1995 Ric Flair and Sting versus Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman.
Yes.
Yeah. Go on.
An absolute hoot.
Every time that video clip comes on my timeline of Flair's hot tag and then Blast and Sting, I watch it like 5 times over. Like every time.
It's the best. I'm wearing the Nitro Horseman shirt today, and it's like I will never say Flair was like truly great in that era, but God, he was fun in that Nitro stretch. Just obscene with the ridiculous Macaulay Culkin haircut. The works, bro, at the time. Tremendous. Okay, 95, a memorable angle as much as anything else. I like it.
Yes. So that means for my world title, then I'm going, because that takes Flair and Sting off my board, I'm pretty much have to go with Lex Luger versus Ron Simmons 2 out of 3 falls from 1991.
It's a good match. A good match. Dusty Rhodes in the corner, and a pretty dramatic scene, even if not like a Mac classic. I think it's a good pick, certainly. And I mean, Lex is represented a lot here, so I think it's fair that he's in one of the big matches. Yeah, I like it. A nice double pick there for Chris. Right, Bobby, we're back to you, mate. What do you reckon?
All right. So we'll go with a singles non-title match, going back to 1993. Vader against Cactus Jack, Texas Death Match. Very famous. Great match between the two of them. Obviously, a little added element because it's Cactus Jack's way to kind of get out of WCW, but just great stuff. And yeah, I'm really happy to get it right here.
Famous one, definitely. Yeah, my goodness.
The two that you've taken, Bob, are like the two that, like, if you hadn't taken those, I would have taken those two. Like, would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are both good picks.
Bob's pretty good at this, gents. It always catches me off guard, I have my guard up. I'm looking elsewhere, and Bob will come in there with overhand right. You gotta be wary. You gotta be wary. But nonetheless, I'm looking back here at my big board, and I think I'm gonna add another one of my personal favorites for the world's tag team titles, as I head to me by far the best Nasty Boys match in professional wrestling history, as they meet the Steiners in 1990 in an incredible tag title match. I'll swear by it. Jensen, I see you nodding in approval. That thing is
that was going to be one of my back-to-backs too, right there. I mean, yeah, for sure. And because the thing is, like, I loved the Nasty Boys in the 90s too as a kid. Like, a lot of the, you don't really take like the like what do you call it? The in-ring ability so into consideration when you're a little kid. So I was just like about the Nasty Boys, and like they were colorful and the armpits in the corner and stuff. And the Steiners were like my favorite tag team ever. Like they just beat people to death. And Scott Steiner, honestly, people don't talk about this enough. That dude might have like the coolest move set in like wrestling history. If you just look at like his whole span of moves he's used in his career. So yeah, dude, I would have been right there with you at this match for sure.
It's a fascinating match because the Nasty Boys are basically work as like, underneath bumping heels because the Steiners just forced them to by just throwing them around, So it's a hell of a time for sure. That is my tag title match of choice. Jensen, you're up, mate. Double pick.
Ooh, so this is where it's going to start getting hard because like all the ones I wanted.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, there's still some good ones on here, obviously. I just got to look a little bit here because I got the double picks, so I got to be smart here.
Yeah.
So
the game definitely changes here, certainly.
Yes. Sorry, my computer keeps freezing. I'm like,
you're good.
Like looking for my list here. It won't pull up.
You're good, brother. There's going to be some pauses here, folks, as we look through the topsy-turvy history of the Halloween Havoc event. Don't worry about it, folks. We'll get there in the end.
Yeah, it's literally just my computer being super slow. I don't know if like I'm freezing or not at all.
Fine for us, brother.
Okay, good. That's good. I should have this back up in just 1 second.
You're fine. Okay. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, guys. So, all right. We're going to go. Well, this is the one that I was going to do either way. I'll look for a second at the other one. I had this one on my list either way. So, this was non-title, I believe, non-title singles all the way back in 1993. I would probably never put this guy on like any other list outside of maybe one other match in his whole career, but I'm going Davey Boy Smith Jr. or John Jr. Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, versus Lord Steven Regal from 1993 Halloween Havoc.
I believe that's a TV title match.
TV.
Oh, it's a TV title. Okay, I can.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So. There's not a bunch of other contenders in that case.
Yeah,
that's a good pick. I love that match, man. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's going to be one of them, and then the other one, man. We're going to go.
The match is interesting too because you get to see Davey Boy work the style that he didn't ever work in the US, Interesting match.
Yeah. He was kind of underrated in that sense. He just got like
he got used to playing a certain, list of hits too in America, right? Like he had his style and that's what he did.
And he's had that look. He just like looked like such a massive superstar.
Absolutely.
I wish my damn computer would stop freezing when I'm looking at this list right now. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see. Next pick. Other one I had on there I can't pick because of the I already took a cruiserweight title match because the Dean Malenko Mysterio match was way up there for me too.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Absolutely.
I want to go world title. I can't remember the
world title we have still on the board.
Yes.
We've have
Sting versus Sid. We've got Rude versus Chono. Simmons versus Barbarian. Rude versus Flair.
I'm going to take. I'm going to go 1998. I'm going to go Goldberg and DDP. I like that match a lot.
Bobby's
yeah.
Oh, you already took that. Oh, that's right. Jeez.
You're good. You got Savage and Hogan is 96, right?
So
it's
I'm gonna go
that section now, bro.
I know. I'm gonna go based on. This is based on a little bit of bias, but I am gonna go Hogan and Savage from '96.
Yep.
And mainly because Randy Savage is the guy who like got me in as a wrestling fan in WCW. He was like my first favorite wrestler. Those two guys, I thought that was always magic. It was frustrating years later realizing that Savage never beat him one-on-one. That was disappointing to like realize. But I'll go I'll go Hogan and Savage from 96.
In terms of star power, you can't go wrong with that, right? In terms of star power, even if their matches obviously from yesteryear were more memorable in terms of, and also that's the height of the NWO angle's just been shot, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of interest in that, definitely.
And it's like in comparison to like the other choices that I would have on something like that, like Hulk Hogan and the Giant was
it's rough.
Was what it was, but like it meant a lot for me as a fan because I liked the Dungeon of Doom, even though once again in hindsight it was terrible, but as a kid it was great, you know. But, and it was honestly, the Giant coming in.
The best match I think in that category left is the last one. I think it's Scott and Booker.
Yeah,
I love Rick Rude, but him and Flair did not click whatsoever in the ring. So. Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Okay.
And Cody Wilson in the chat, NXT cards do not count. That makes this a lot harder because that would be a lot easier to pick some good matches off of some of these NXT cards.
In terms of the actual work rate,
the actual matches. Yeah. They're like Gargano. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay. I'm looking here in these non-title categories, and it's an intriguing lineups await us in some of those, you know, the tag one in particular. But nonetheless, I'm going to take a match that I don't... Johnny B. Bad is someone who feels like he shouldn't be getting picked by me this early in the game.
I was a fan back in the 90s, though.
He really was.
Frisbees in the crowd. People were into it, dude.
He was actually good. It just feels like picking him and setting myself up to be dunked on. So I'm going to go in the direction that you mentioned, Jensen, that you couldn't take because you've already taken the Ray match with Eddie. I'm going to take Ray and Dean from 96. Very famous one. Meant a lot for that division as it was really exploding. Goes without saying, right? Dean and Ray. That was magic for sure. Okay. There we go. Bobby, you're up, mate.
All right. Let's see here. So I'll stick with 1993 and go with Dustin against Steve Austin in the U.S. title match. I think I couldn't decide between that and the TV title match, but that one actually has a finish. The TV title match is a draw, so we'll go with that one. Yeah,
neither of them are like quite what you imagine when you say the names, right? But they're both good matches. A lot of Austin WCW matches have brutal finishes. I don't know who was agent in his stuff, but they always have these like horrific roll up finishes because of course they do. It's WCW. But a good pick nonetheless. That was the US title one, right, Bob?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Chris, that wipes out the 91 match entirely, right? In addition?
Yes. Very good point. Yes, if you had if a match gets taken that has a rematch later on down the line, like Steve Austin versus Dustin Rhodes, then the any other matches between those two are off the board.
There we go.
Avoid I called that the Rock Austin clause.
Yeah. Let me tell you, that TV title category, Johnny B. Bad's looking a lot better now after that. Move. So, all right, we'll see. Chris,
all right, so let's see here. So I gotta look here. Let me look at the U.S. and I'm getting thin now in the U.S.
Yeah.
I don't want to take another step match already, but I think I'm going to have to. I guess I'm going to have to go Vader versus Nikita Koloff, no DQ.
Hell yeah.
From 1992.
Yeah.
Probably well past the use of Nikita Koloff, but
it's Vader. You know, Vader in 1992 could have wrestled me, and it would have been fun because he just clobbers people. It's a simple equation, thankfully. Okay, Nikita and Vader off the board.
And then let's see. I guess I gotta go to the
92, of course, an infamous Havoc. Philadelphia just rejects the show entirely, and Jake Roberts and Sting with the spin the wheel, make the deal.
Coal miner, yeah.
That is a show, brother. Bill Watts, he's absolute creative worst right there. Yeah. They have the opening match where it's like it's Eaton, Arn, and Michael Hayes against like the 3 young guns, and the crowd just cheers the veterans because of course they do. Philly said, "No, we're not in on this business."
They've been smart marks this entire time.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Forever.
And then I guess for TV title, I'm gonna take Chris Jericho versus Raven from 1998.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's I think that's the right pick. Good match. Absolutely. Okay. There we go. TV title category that we've referenced a couple of times here. Gets a little thinner once more. Johnny B. Bad is sitting pretty in the TV title category. Bob O'Neill, you're up again, my friend. Where you going?
All right, let's see. I think I'll go with tag team non-title and go with Flair and Sting against Funk and Muta. You can't have a WCW show without having Flair and Sting on it, I don't feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go with that.
That's a fun one. It's not of that 89 series, that's one of the weaker matches, but it's still, it's still fun. It's those guys wrestling in a big cage. Like, of course it's fun.
Yeah.
Good match for sure. Good pick.
The Thunderdome. Yes,
an incredibly funny concept in which some of the guys just forget it's supposed to be like electrocuted and fuck it, it's WCW, who cares? Okay, I'm back on the board here, and I'm gonna just do it. I've referenced it enough, and I feel it's the time has come to hit the emergency Johnny B. Bad button. I'm going to 1995 for.
Gotta make sure you do it before someone else does, man.
Yeah, Johnny B. Bad versus DDP. In all seriousness, Johnny B. Bad had a real nice stretch of openers around this time and like underneath matches for WCW. DDP was finding himself. It's a nice match. I think their match at I want to say they have a better one at a different pay. They seem to wrestle every month for a while. They're in this era, but 95, Johnny B. Bad and DDP is my television title match.
The setup for that match is just peak hilarity.
Yes, absolutely it is. Professional wrestling, unhinged professional wrestling. Indeed.
Johnny B. Bad coming in with the like makeup on his face, looking like he was having to work on his car because he had flat tires and couldn't make his U.S. title match against Sting.
Real graps, bro. Real graps. Okay, double pick again here, gents. What we'll do is after your first pick, we'll just reset for the people and recap what we've each got thus far, if that works for you guys.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Go ahead, Jensen. Go, mate.
Okay. Man, I didn't expect to go so old school with so many of these matches, but like the more that I think about my era as a fan in comparison to some of the more old stuff, I'm like, man, it doesn't hold up as good. Like it really doesn't. Like some of the stuff, like when you really start comparing it, like because I really want to go with more like 1997, 1998, 1999 type stuff, but like I also can't just like not go with Doom versus the Four Horsemen from 1990, I think it is. Is that can I put that type of match on there?
So, yeah, I believe it's 90. Yeah,
I will take that match. It was Arn and Rick were the team for the Four Horsemen.
Yes,
Butch Reed and Ron Simmons.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go with that one. It's old school, but that gets. I'm also thinking bigger picture with my actual full card here. That gets Ric Flair on my show and Arn Anderson. That gets Ron Simmons on my card, who's on at least one of your other cards through some of the other matches as well. So that rounds out a lot of what I was looking for there with all four of those guys. So I'll take that.
So right now, Jensen, your 4 matches are as follows, mate. Run them down for the people just so we have kind of a track of where everyone's at. That's fine. Go for it.
Yeah. So I have Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero from 1997. Steven Regal versus British Bulldog from 1993. Hogan versus Savage from 1996, and Doom versus Flair and Arn from 1990.
Beautiful. I have Flair and Hogan from 94. I have the Steiners and the Nasty Boys from 1990. Malenko and Ray Jr. from 96. And, of course, Johnny B. Bad and DDP from 95. Bobby, what have you got thus far, mate?
Goldberg and DDP from 1998, Vader and Cactus Jack from 1993, Steve Austin and Dustin Rhodes also from 1993, and Ric Flair and Sting against Terry Funk and the Great Muta in the Thunderdome.
Bobby's I'm telling you, man, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. Give him a spreadsheet. He's deadly with a spreadsheet. That's quite the card. Kris, where are you at thus far, mate?
I got a lot of Flair tag matches here. I got Flair and Sting versus Arn and Brian Pillman from 1995. I have Lex Luger versus Ron Simmons in 2 out of 3 falls from 1991. I have Vader versus Nikita Koloff, no disqualification, 1992. I have Chris Jericho versus Raven from 1998.
Beautiful. Okay, Jensen, back to you, mate, for your second pick of your double pick. Go for it.
Man, I'm going old school again. This is all the way back to, I think, the first Halloween Havoc. I'm gonna go. This is also gonna knock off my U.S. title match as well. We got Lex Luger versus Brian Pillman from Halloween Havoc 1989. Once again, when I'm looking at it, it's like I really want to get Luger on my show. I look at like his later stuff; it's not even close to as good as this. So it's like I got this got to be my Luger match, and this is a great match. Flying Brian in there as well. I mean, yeah, I think this really adds to my card, and it also is a great representation for the U.S. title there. So yeah, I'll go with that.
If you think Jim Ross talks about football a lot now.
I was stunned when we were looking at the spreadsheet for the rating for that match was a lot lower than I anticipated. I think that match is a blast. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't hold up as well to the modern eye. I don't know, but we have to get Bob to do a review of it one day. The match is. I always thought that match was awesome. Lex is really good in that stretch of time.
It honestly probably would have been my U.S. title pick had I not had to take a Lex match for my world title match.
And it also is a match that like elevated Pillman. Like even though he lost, he like got elevated in that one. So
it was that
like
match.
Luger was people forget like Luger was a big deal in WCW and the NWA. Like and then like the WWF thing was like a kind of a flub, but like he was a big deal like to beat Luger in the NWA WCW days.
Whenever he was in front of that audience, he was a big deal. Whenever you're absolutely right. Like that's a bigger part of his legacy, and people give it credit for sure. Okay, speaking of Lex. I'm going to stick with Lex Luger in the US title. I'm going to jump a year ahead. Not a great match, but one that pops me to put on my card as he meets Stan Hansen for the US title.
Nice. This
is when Hansen wins the belt, and I think he drops it back at Starrcade, right? Is my recollection of events. I'm pretty sure that's what they do here. Kind of a forgotten little run here for Hansen in WCW, but a nice match. Neither of them are classics or anything like that, but they have a good match here in 1990, so that'll be my US title bout. Okay. What about Neil?
Okay. Going to 1996, the first year of their residency in Las Vegas for this event. And we will go with the World Tag Team title match, the Outsiders against Harlem Heat.
God damn it.
Damn good match.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. The crowd's really into it. The finish is a little dumb, but whatever.
Yeah, well, WCW. Yeah. If we were only picking matches with good finishes, the game would have ended when Jensen said Eddie versus Ray. We'd have said, all right, folks, it's been a hell of a night. Here we go. Maybe the best Harlem Heat match, honestly. Harlem Heat, a great act, great visual, but in terms of bell to bell, that match that stands out to me personally. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Hell of a match from 96. To be fair, not to say that Nash and Hall had exactly, Mac classics out there.
But they were super over back then. Like the Outsiders, like they seemed unbeatable. Like at that time, like especially because like they would have. I don't know if at that point like Nick Patrick was already like helping them out and stuff. But like I can't remember. But they're that was a. And Harlem Heat honestly was. It's weird because they only had their run in just WCW, but like had there been more of them, especially in the WWF and stuff, they were already held in high regard, but they really were one of like the best tag teams ever.
They were the team in WCW, right? Yeah. For years there. So absolutely. Sure. A good pick, Bob, and add some star power to your show also. Kris, you seem frustrated at that pick from Bob.
That was very kind. That was going to be my my tag team title pick, but
fair, very fair.
That's all right. That's okay. Let's see here. So I will go.
An interesting place here, this deep in the game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me just double check, make sure I'm not gonna. Yep. All right. For non-title singles, I will be taking Randy Savage versus DDP Sudden Death from 1997.
That's a good one.
Had a memorable feud there, man. They really did. They did a lot for Dallas. Did an awful lot for him. Probably the last, significant thing Savage did in the business, right? That feud. Like when you really look back on it, after that he really kind of fades away.
NWO Wolfpack, I beg your pardon.
Well, yeah, as I was saying, he fades away. It made for some great action figures, That's the end of the day. we can all co-sign that. Okay, nice pick.
And then I will go. I guess I'll go then to my other. Well, I see you're Johnny B. Bad, and I raise you a Disco Inferno, Joe. Kidman versus Disco Inferno for the Cruiserweight title.
Well,
nice.
I'm happy with that duel on my part, personally. I'll live with that. I'll live with that matchup, brother. Okay. Tremendous stuff. What match was that for you, Chris? Was that your 6th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Bobby?
All right. I also need an other title match, and I haven't seen any of these that are left. There's only like 3 of them left anyway. So we'll just go to 2000. We'll go with Reno against Sergeant AWOL for the hardcore title.
Nice.
It's a hardcore match. I mean, how bad could it be?
It's not that it's bad so much as it feels like the universe kind of just, it needed you to take that. You needed to be the one who sustained that bullet, like you had to be. Your card looked pristine, and then Sergeant AWOL, brother. Here's what it is. Okay, I'm going to get a little sentimental here with my next pick because this isn't a great pro wrestling match. It's a good one, but I want both these guys on my card. 2 of my all-time favorites. My non-title match, I'm headed to 1994. The Natural Dustin Rhodes, the Enforcer Arn Anderson. A bizarre successor to the War Games match that wasn't really necessary, but they did anyway and give like 10 minutes in the middle because, of course, it's a good match. It's not blowaway, but you need some Arn Anderson on here, right? Like there are some rules we must live by. Arn Anderson and WCW Draft has to be featured. So that is my non-title singles. Okay. Jensen. This is you wrapping up your business, right? I think this is your final 2, yeah.
So, what category is there? Any like mandatory category I'm missing right now?
Looks like you need both your non-title singles and non-title tag team.
Yes,
okay, non-title singles, non-title tag team. Okay, the tag team one's gonna be a little harder. The singles one, this is going to be super random, and I'm going kind of based on memory here, but I want both guys on my show, and I remember this being pretty good. And I mean, so like my big line of thinking here, let me just make sure on the list here, I don't have any of these guys. Okay, yeah. So I'm a big Chris Jericho guy. I got to get Chris Jericho on the show somewhere. Do y'all remember, was the Jericho Gato match the one where he like tried to Frankenstein him off the top rope and he landed on his head? I'm going to take that match. So I'm going to go Chris Jericho and Gato. That's going to be that gets both legends on my card. It was actually a solid match outside of the botch. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. That was from 1997.
The reason that the great Stephen Jensen is such a tremendous fit here at Late Night Grin is that he goes, is that the match where there was that horrifying botch? We go, yep. He goes, that's the one I want it. Put it on my card. That's
Bring it up.
The game we love, brother.
Yes.
Okay.
And now I got to find a tag team non-title match. Give me just 1 second on that.
I have the same task coming up here.
Do I already have any of these guys? If I don't, I just lucked out big time. Let's go. This is only 5 minutes long. I'm going with this. I'm going this once again. This is off name value, get more people on my show, and I actually love some of these talents. I completely forgot this match existed. Oh, no, I can't do it because I already have a tag team title match. Damn it. I was going to go with that random. I'll throw it out there because someone else might take it to be funny. That there's a Harlem Heat versus Filthy Animals versus Knobs and Morris for the tag titles. Man, because I'd love to get Kidman on my card.
The non-title tag section is it's not loaded, brother.
Man.
Yeah,
there's like no non-title tag matches. I'm trying to go to who we got? What's even for the tag titles? The opener of the 2000 card with all these people.
Yeah.
I already have some of them though.
There are 2 that stood out to me, and they're both involved the Midnight Express.
Yeah, having to go old school again. I'm trying to get like some more of my.
Oh no, man, it's difficult.
Does Goldberg versus Chronic count as a tag team match?
I mean, no, but it's hilarious that you asked that question out loud because considering what that match is and what it was.
But like that gets Goldberg on my show, and
it sure does.
Kind of gets Wrath on there too.
I guess so.
Let's see here. I'm sorry, I just got to find a tag team match. Like, oh, you know what? I'll go. I love the Faces of Fear. I love me and the Barbarian. I hate one of the people in this match. I can't kick a Benoit match, man. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. Man, does anyone else even have to pick a tag team, non-title tag team match still?
That's my last pick too.
Okay.
The two matches that I circled, I have no problem saying to you gents because they're at a very similar level. It's the Dr. Death and Midnight Express versus the Samoan SWAT team to me, or it's the Ricky Morton and Tommy Rich versus Midnight Express. And I have no preference between them. So I humbly suggest that to you as our best options at this point in the game.
Yeah, I think because literally I've gone from like the year 2000 all the way down. I'm down to like the early 90s, and there's like just really nothing else I can choose besides what you.
Yeah.
Did anyone take that Nasty Boys versus Terry Funk?
They did not.
That Bunkhouse Buck Terry Funk match. I'll take that. That gets Terry Funk on my show and the Nasty Boys because I didn't get the Nasty Boys versus Steiner's Brothers match. I'll take that.
It's fun too. Yeah,
I'll take it.
Cool. I like it. I like it, Jensen. I like it. Okay.
Sorry they took so long.
No, you're good, bro. There's a lot of forgettable wrestling matches to file through here. You know, it's difficult. Even for us big WCW fans, you do not exactly read something like this and go, "Oh yes, of course."
Dude, someone in the chat said someone go Goldberg versus Chronic. Dude,
there you go.
Does it count?
It's got a bit of love also earlier on the match you just picked. So there you go.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to take.
No, someone had that in the chat too. Let's go.
This last one, I would like to for your consideration. Road Warriors versus Skyscrapers. If you just want four guys,
indeed,
just beating the hell out of each other.
Fair. I think I'm going. It's not a particularly memorable match. I'm going to go with the Samoan SWAT team versus Dr. Death and Midnight Express. I mean, that's a lot of talent to put on the show. It's a match I can put in between some of my bigger singles matches. And that wraps it up for me. I'm taking Samoan SWAT team, Dr. Death, Midnight Express, 1989, Halloween Havoc. Okay, Bobby, what's your category for your final pick, mate?
I need TV title. And there are literally two that I can pick from based on people who aren't already on my card or, matches I haven't already taken. Listen, I don't want to be the one to take a Benoit match either.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Clearly
did. Bob's like, you've been waiting for that.
I just, it's between that and Johnny B. Bad and Honky Tonk Man, and I have to go with Benoit against Rick Steiner. I apologize.
You went double. You doubled down on that.
Yeah, just we're gonna lock it in, and we're gonna see what happens.
He went double. It's crazy.
We're gonna lock, and then he's like, "We're gonna lock it in." Yeah, all right, got it, dude. I think you had my favorite card until then.
Yeah, the last couple, Bob paid the price for his early success. That match isn't even good, which makes that even funnier. Like, you did a Benny match and it isn't even good, bro.
No, because I should have just taken the other Austin and Dustin
Some of the
match.
chat also said Benoit Steiner also sucked.
It did.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
He took a bad Benoit match. What a sicko.
No, I should have taken the other Austin and Dustin match because I would have opened up a bunch more U.S. title stuff. And then,
true. It did mess up.
Brother.
The strategy was a bit difficult once you start taking some of the good matches and like you can't double up. But yeah, all right, man. I like in the I'm reading the updates on the thing.
Yes,
Benny,
absolutely.
Benny on there. That's funny.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate late night Grin thing. Close this thing out in style that isn't what Bob just did, please.
He's like, no, not. It's not just a Benoit match. It's going to be Benoit versus Rick Steiner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go. All right.
The way that he led with that with that completely shameless, I don't want to do this, but get out of here.
It's so funny. I'm actually watching that DDP and Savage match on here right now.
It's a hoot, bro. It's a good time.
Great match.
It's a good time. Absolutely.
Last pick.
What category do you have left, Chris?
Tag team title.
And
there's a couple. I'm looking at a couple right here. It's either Wyndham and Rhodes versus Austin and Dr. Death.
Mm-hmm. Which is good.
It's good, but it's 30 minutes and it ends in a draw.
Yes.
So I think I'm gonna have to go Nasty Boys versus Too Cold and Bagwell.
I like that.
Yeah, that's fun match.
Yeah.
I like the Too Cold and Bagwell team, like while it lasted.
It must be said, fellas, the Nasty Boys have got some paydays tonight, haven't they? They're all over these shows.
They were legit for like a short amount of time there in like the mid 90s, late 90s. Like they really, like they were super marketable. I remember even there was like some VHS tape of some movie I had that like in like the previews of it, it was like a Nasty Boys clip or something. I remember like even like to that point, they were like mainstream. Weird.
Used to be better, brother.
It did. It used to be better. It did. As a matter of fact, it used to be so much better. That true story. There's a place up the street that I action figure hunt at often, and it's like this big antique mall type place. They've had a signed Brian Knobs action figure there hanging on the wall for $50 for probably the last 2.5 years, untouched. I mean, just. And I've offered multiple times. I'm like, yo, I'll give you less for like, I'll take it. I'm not giving $50 for it, but like, I'm interested in it. And they'll never budge. And I'm like, it's gonna be here forever. You guys realize that, right? Like, all right.
They're convinced that one day the right customer is gonna sweep through, brother. You know, one day.
Yeah, the Hulkster's gonna come by. The Hulkster's gonna come by and feel bad and take it off the wall, brother.
Tremendous.
Actually, did they have like a falling out or something? No, that was him and Beefcake. I think had a falling out. Yeah,
remember their TNA? They had their little TNA stint because of like Hogan brought them in TNA.
Like it was one of the first moves. Whenever him and Bischoff came in, immediately the Nasty Boys showed up on TNA TV and
you gotta bring the Nasties with you, brother.
You have to respect that on some level because it's like. It's the exact thing everyone feared they'd do, and they just did it anyway. Fuck it, we're doing it.
Everyone warned them. They're like, if you bring these guys in, these are the things in exact order that are going to happen to you and your company. And then it all just happened.
We'll take the risk.
Here's
what we're gonna do, folks. We're gonna, tell you guys what we've had. Maybe push it a little bit, maybe promote a little bit, and then you're gonna have a chance to vote. Jensen, I'll start with you, mate. Why should the people vote for your Halloween Havoc card? Tell them about it.
So I think it's a pretty well-rounded card. Mm-hmm. I know all of our cards have the same mixture of title matches and those kind of things, but I mean, I think in my honest opinion, I have the best match in the history of the show. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero. So I'm a bit at an advantage having the first pick with that one. I think I got more great wrestling with Steven Regal and Davey Boy. We got Hogan versus Savage, two of the biggest names in the 1990s, two of the biggest names in the history of wrestling, really, when you think about it. Mm-hmm. We got Doom, including Ron Simmons, first African-American champion in WCW history on the show. They're against Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. What more can you say there? The Four Horsemen. You got Luger versus Pillman. Luger's kind of prime, even though he lasted a lot longer after that. This is some of his best stuff and some of Pillman's best stuff all the way back in the first show. We got Chris Jericho and Gato, two legends, big botch, but a good match. And the Nasty Boys we keep talking about in there as well. You got Terry Funk too. So that's why you should vote for my show.
I like it, but you know what I like a little bit more? Stephen Jensen. Steel Cage, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, brother. It don't get any bigger. That's going to be drawing the house for me. We've got the Steiners turning the Nasty Boys into the Midnight Express. We have Dean and Ray Jr. tearing it up, the Cruiserweight belt. The Johnny B. Bad emergency button opposite DDP. Some Stan Hansen. You know, that means Japanese photographers and such, the magazines. They're going to be in the building for that Lex Luger title win. Dustin and Arn doing the dance. Then we've got some six-man action, which would be a nice bar for week and maybe get some popcorn or something, or the Midnight Express are out there having a nice little freestyle match. So I'm pretty happy with that. Came out. Bobby, what about yourself, mate?
what we're offering here is just kind of a nice little walk through just kind of all the eras of WCW that everyone remembers so fondly. You got Vader and Cactus Jack, you got Flair and Stinger in action, Dustin and Stone Cold. I mean, he's Steve Austin there, obviously, but becomes Stone Cold later. Goldberg and DDP. You got all these luminaries. And the Outsiders and Harlem Heat. It's a lot of fun, man. It's good stuff, and just those are memories that'll bring you back.
2 matches.
And, you missed. I think you missed some stuff there.
There's a couple other matches too, but
explain to me why I should Sergeant AWOL. Well, who's that guy?
Again, it's a hardcore match. Those are generally good, man. It's walk and brawl, and if there's a match that maybe you don't want to watch, you can go get some souvenirs or something.
There you go. Yeah, still pretty good. It's still a good card.
That's fair. I opened the door to that explanation, so I can't argue.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, the problem is Sergeant AWOL's not the only one that went AWOL on that show, but nonetheless, Kris Bordine, what's your card looking like, brother?
Well, I mean, we've got Ric Flair and Sting versus Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. How is this going to turn out? You know the answer, but you still watch the end anyway because it's awesome. Lex Luger versus Ron Simmons, 2 out of 3 falls for the world title. We've got Vader and Nikita Koloff just beating the hell out of each other in a no DQ match. Chris Jericho in that 1998 prime WCW Jericho run against Raven. Randy Savage versus DDP in, I believe, the blow off to the feud of the year in 1997. Can't win them all. I got Disco on here versus Kidman for the Cruiserweight title, but then we've got the Nasty Boys versus Too Cold Scorpio and Buff Bagwell for the tag team titles. And added bonus, no Hulk Hogan, no Chris Benoit, and no Rick Steiner.
Addition by subtraction. All right, I respect that. All right, folks, if you look at your Twitch gimmick here, you should see a poll starting now. Tell me if you can, so I can look at who won this thing. Twitch polls confuse me immensely. But as we wait for results, you have 2 minutes to vote. Please do so, and we'll see who won this thing. It was a hell of a time, though, fellas. That was a nice trip down memory lane, wasn't it? It was a good time to look back at the history of Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Tremendous. If you think you know an event's history, and then you start scanning the spreadsheet for a particular match, and you go, "Well, looks different than you remember sometimes, brother."
Yeah, really, that did happen a lot. Like coming into this, like I said, especially because of when I grew up watching this as it was happening, I thought for sure I was going to lean way more towards like 97 through 2000, but when you're looking at like having these categories of specific title matches and stuff, like I couldn't go biased and take like, someone I just really liked as a kid in like 1998 versus, like Luger versus Pillman. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So
there's just
something made it challenging.
There's just something about that pre-Hogan.
Yes.
And this isn't even a slight against Hogan. There's just something about those, especially with JR on the call, those early Halloween Havocs and Stargates and stuff like that. There's an aesthetic about those shows that is just, it's tough to beat.
I agree completely. And I think part of it is the TV very much then worked in service to those pay-per-views, whereas, the Nitro era that Jensen, I know you were trying to veer towards, the reality is Nitro was where most of the best stuff was then, like that was the product's kind of highlights in a lot of ways. But it makes for an interesting look at the pay-per-view cards for that era, because it's that you really need to watch the Monday night product. That's when it was really rocking most weeks. But
I agree. And like, and when you tune into the pay-per-views, you could pretty much count on like the opener or maybe the first like couple matches to be like banger, like cruiserweight or tag team matches. Like those would be like really good. And then like the farther you'd get along the card, like the worse the matches get. And then you get to the main event and it's like guys barely working at all. But as a kid, you just like, it's the Hulkster. You know what I mean? Or even for me, they sell me on. Well, there is. I mean, for me, they're selling me like I was so. Do y'all curse on this thing?
No? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't even. I figured it didn't matter, but I was so mind fucked not being a WWF fan before I became a WCW fan that like I knew of the Renegade before I knew who the Ultimate Warrior was.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So like
that's incredible.
So like I see the Ultimate Warrior come over and I'm like aware, I think at that point who he was, but at the same time it was like the Renegade I thought was cool. I was like, yeah, this guy's, and then I saw the Ultimate Warrior later and I was like, wait a second. This is clearly, wait a second. But once again, by the time they brought Ultimate Warrior in, they were even able to get me invested in that. This idea of this guy from Hulk Hogan's past coming back and needing to beat Hulk Hogan because, Hogan needed to get a win over him and all that. Then the One Warrior Nation thing was terrible and all of the Disciple.
I'm proud of us. None of us picked that match.
It was tempting. Fireball.
It was. We had some fun about this recently. There was a Roman Reigns main event that didn't deliver, and people were like, are people going to keep putting up with these matches? And someone compared it to Hollywood Hogan, and we were doing a show on Wrestle Furious, and we all stopped the show and was like, listen, he had a 3-star match, guys. Hollywood Hogan consistently had stinkers and no one cared. They let him roll with it. It was what it was, The business has changed in that way. It's a bad match now. It's just like an okay match, It's very different, but nonetheless, the results are in. Now as follows. In 4th place, I do feel that this gentleman was hurt by their place in the draft, but these are the games we play. It is the wonderful Kris Bordine, who again we thank for his concept here. Jensen
came in last every single one of these. That's kind of sucks.
It's tough. Yeah. It's tough, bro.
Hey,
it's tough.
Oh, well.
Yeah. You put in the actual work, you get no reward. It's very.
I know.
That's pro wrestling.
Exactly.
Join in 2nd place. It is the LNG regulars, myself and Bobby Two Shoes, and that means the victor of the WCW Halloween Havoc draft is the extraordinary Stephen Jensen. Jensen, how does it feel to be a triumph here on your return to LNG, brother?
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who voted and watched the show. Very much appreciate it. I feel very welcome here on this channel with you guys. And I will admit, having the first pick, having that Ray versus Eddie match is a total game changer. Whoever had that's going to get massive bonus points no matter who had that. And I recognize that. But I am going to give myself a little pat on the back for rounding out the rest of the card and getting the rest of these stars on here, the rest of these good wrestling matches. But I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm actually surprised that I won. Awesome.
It was great to have you on, and it should be noted, Kris, obviously this is your concept. I've done 2 of them with you. Bob is familiar with the concept. You learned you were doing this show last week, and you only kind of really looked into it here in this last couple. So you did very, very well adjusting, because it is, when you're first doing it, it can be it feels more confusing than it is, right, at first. And then once you start doing it, it's like you get it. So
yeah,
it was great to have you on for that. Okay, fellas, it's been a wonderful time. Let's do some plugs and let's call it a night here. Bobby, do you have anything to put over, anything to push, mate?
I do. Tuesday night we'll be back. Grin Grappler, Eddie Guerrero, B-sides.
Yes,
really cool lineup we got there. Well, yeah. More B-sides than you would expect, but yeah, still a couple big ones. That'll be fun. Next Sunday, Halloween Havoc 1995 Grin Along.
Indeed. What a havoc that is. No one picked up the Sumo Monster Truck ordeal. So we'll talk about that next Sunday, no doubt. And the big hook there, folks, is that we have booked Manny the Hooper for that show. We do not yet know our full lineup. We just know you're going to see Manny watch the Sumo Monster Truck. That says it all. So that'll be next Sunday.
I can't wait to see his reaction to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a treat. We're going to be hitting play at 6:05 Eastern. So join us next Sunday. Kris, what have you got going on for him? Would you like to push anything to promote? Go for it.
Just go to musicandmoonsaults.com. That leads you right to my YouTube channel, where again you can find the other 2 drafts that Joe did over there on my channel. Mm-hmm. I'll create a special playlist just with those 2 those drafts on it. That'll make it easy for people to find.
Yeah.
But the main thing there, every Friday around 3 Easternish, I post me and my best friend of 20 years, Matt, who also was on those 2 drafts with us. We do a show. It's basically just Kris and Matt's whatever pod, because he's pretty fed up with wrestling right now.
Respect.
So we talk a little bit of wrestling, and then we talk whatever else comes to our mind. Usually football, but yeah, it's a good time. So yeah, just come over there and check it out and support and all that kind of stuff.
It's a hangout, brother. It's very much in the mold of what we do here, right? It's dudes talking. So absolutely, please do support Kris and Matt in that endeavor. And as you said, Matt was on those drafts. I seem to remember feeling that I got robbed by Jeremy Lambert on the second one. I'm almost convinced.
I didn't want to bring it up, but Jeremy won both of those, and now his co-host comes in, and when
they're prolific, man. They're prolific. I'm telling you, it's the winning team. Jensen, tell the people what you're going on. I know obviously the spotlight every Thursday. Doing a wonderful job over there, and everything else you do, mate. Tell the people about it.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, the spotlight every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. YouTube.com/Fightful. Myself and Jeremy talk about wrestling, and we interview like wrestlers, promoters, and other YouTubers and stuff. So, please check that out. Appreciate that. Please also check out the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. I upload that usually on Sundays, sometimes Mondays. But I had an episode come out tonight just for reference and kind of stuff that I cover. A lot of like GCW, action wrestling, prestige, stuff on like IWTV, stuff on Fight Plus. But also on this episode gave thoughts on, like TNA being rebranded, Impact TNA and stuff. Usually talk about Ring of Honor spoilers. Yeah. Speaking of, I was last night myself, Joel Pearl and Cresta Star did the review for Fightful for Impact Bound for Glory. If anyone wants to check that out, that was a good show in my opinion. That was a lot of fun. And speaking of support, everyone's out here talking about support this, support that. Two things I got to support real quick. All right, I got my Minnesota Vikings. All right, they're playing on Monday night. Skull Vikings. And the really, really important thing here, support the American Nightmare.
There we go.
I'll get behind that. Make sure everybody make your voices heard. Tell the WWE, let them know. I don't care if The Rock's available. I don't care if he's interested. Don't care who else is available. Don't care if LA Knight becomes the most over human being in the history of professional wrestling. Don't care what happens. Make sure that the WWE knows that you want Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, to be the WWE undisputed champion. Have them know he needs to beat Seth Rollins for that phony championship on Raw, and then take all the titles from Roman and have all of them. And he can do that at WrestleMania 40, and no one should get in the way of that. So stop messing with it and make it happen. Support this. Okay, that's everything I've got, everyone. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
When you said the important calls, I was like, I'm going to stop laughing because maybe Jensen has something like truly, poignant or profound to, like we have this thing going on, everyone play. And then I saw the American Night. I said, of course, I should have known better. This is Cody propaganda here, but I respect it. I co-sign. But, hands off a little bit on the LA Knight deal, but I respect your point of view nonetheless. And I co-sign WrestleMania 40. Hopefully it happens, right? There you go, folks. Please support all our friends here and all the things they're up to. As Bob mentioned, Grin, Grap, Lady Guerrero. This Tuesday, myself, Bobby, Oracle, and Alex. And then Sunday, Havoc 95, Grin along. We appreciate you, folks. Please do keep grinning. We hope you enjoyed the show and enjoy this outro.